Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We're beaming out to the entire universe from the beautiful historical book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. We are so very happy and so honored that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, Player FM, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. This is an incredibly special episode of Reading with Your Kids. Our guest today is Lin Oliver. Lin Oliver is the co-writer to The Stars. She is here to celebrate the After School Kindness Crew, her new middle grade novel that she wrote with Goldie Hawn. Lin is also the founder of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. In addition to listening to Lin, we are going to be hearing a Story Keeper segment. And later in the show, we're going to be introducing a brand new segment that we call the Real Magic Sound Lab. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Fart Boy and Reeky Dog, Dino Doom. Fantastic new graphic novel written by New York Times bestselling author Joan Holub, who's written over 200 amazing books for kids. It's school sleepover at the museum. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? A snack-fueled explosion of garbanzo beans and peanuts unleashes a stink so powerful it brings the dinosaurs back to life. Now, Fart Boy, Reeky Dog, and their friends are in the middle of a dino-sized disaster. They have to solve tricky riddles, find missing bones, and stop the stinkiest villain of all, Professor Gravy Pants. Because if they don't, the dinosaurs could take over. Or worse, they could become Dino Dinner. This action-packed graphic novel is bursting with friendships, adventure, and enough laughs to shake the museum walls. If your kids love superheroes, if they love dinosaurs, and if they love to laugh until they can't breathe, then Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom is the book for you. Because sometimes the power to save the world comes from the unlikeliest place. Grab your copy today and get ready for a reading adventure that's truly dynamite. Want to let you know we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. In fact, the very first series to be named as Reading with Your Kids certified great read, the Fred the Snake series by Dr. Peter Cotton. There's something truly special about a book series that can make children laugh, learn, and feel at home all at the same time. And the Fred the Snake series does exactly that. From the very first adventure, readers are introduced to Fred, a lovable, slightly accident-prone snake whose unforgettable origin story, yes, he really does get squished and mended, immediately captures children's imagination while reassuring them that even life's mishaps can lead to something wonderful. This blend of humor and heart becomes the foundation for the entire series. What makes these books shine is their playful, rhyming storytelling. Each story is told in engaging rhyme, making them perfect for reading aloud and inviting kids to anticipate, participate, and fall in love with language. Whether Fred is heading off on a camping adventure, exploring new places like Charleston, South Carolina, or learning about world cultures and traditions through the Chinese zodiac, the rhythm and pacing keeps young readers fully engaged. Beyond the fun, the series delivers meaningful value for families and educators. Friendship and belonging. Fred's journeys from being alone to finding community is a gentle, reoccurring theme that resonates with kids. Curiosity and exploration. Whether traveling, camping, or learning about global traditions, each story encourages kids to explore the world around them. Cultural awareness. Books like the Chinese Zodiac Adventure introduce children to new ideas and traditions in a fun, accessible way. Practical learning moments. From outdoor safety tips while camping to social experiences at school, the stories naturally weave in real-world lessons. The illustrations by Bonnie Lemire are vibrant, whimsical, and full of energy. Each page invites children to linger, explore details, and connect visually with the story. The artwork perfectly complements the playful tone, making the books ideal for shared reading experiences. Perhaps most importantly, the Fred the Snake series understands something essential. Children learn best when they're having fun. These books don't feel like lessons. They feel like adventures with a friend. For families looking for books that inspire laughter, spark curiosity, and create meaningful read-aloud moments, the Fred the Snake series is a joyful and valuable addition to any home or classroom library. The Reading with Your Kids podcast proudly named the Fred the Snake series a certified great read. Join us right now. I'm really excited about this because this author has been a part of my life in a whole lot of ways. She is a co-author of a series that my daughter absolutely adored, the Hank Zipper series. Her book of poetry was illustrated by one of my favorite authors, the author of the book that was absolutely my favorite, and my kid's favorite, Clown of God, the illustrator Tommy DePaula. And she is the founder and executive director of the SCBWI, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And she's here today to celebrate her new middle grade novel, The After School Kindness Crew. Please welcome to the show, Lin Oliver. Lin, so nice to meet you.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. It's a thrill to be here.
I'm really
All the way across the country from me to you.
Yeah. Can you imagine when you were a youngin', maybe reading Hank Zipper or a book like that, could you ever imagine that there'd be a time in your life where you'd be sitting on one coast and I'd be sitting on another coast and we could see each other and talk to each other, no delay, and it's like magic.
I could never have imagined that. And sometimes even today I can't because I'm such a low-tech person that I see a Zoom link and my heart starts to pound faster. I think, well, is this really going to work? I'm still dubious.
One of the things I panic with is when I have an interview and I click the Zoom link and Zoom says, hey, we're just going to update the app right now.
Oh, isn't it the worst? Isn't it the worst? I hate it when my computer talks to me. I don't understand a word that it says. And it thinks I do. And when I have to re-sign in with Google or anything that's out of the ordinary, I go into a state of panic. Fortunately, I have 3 grown children, and they're my tech consultants.
That's very helpful.
Comes with a lot of eye rolling, like I can't believe you don't know how to do this, but I'm willing to make that trade-off.
Now, the After School Kindness Crew, this is a book that you co-authored with someone people might have heard of, Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote one other series, the Hank Zipper books I wrote with Henry Winkler. And then these books, there will be 4 of them. It'll be a series. I'm writing with Goldie Hawn. In my career, I've had a lot of offers from celebrities to co-author books with them. Mm-hmm. And usually I don't go there because I have my own writing career for one. And I think that there are a lot of people in film and television who think that children's books are kind of a cute thing to do, that they can dash one off. And both with Henry and with Goldie, they understand the legacy of children's literature. They came to me to write with them because I've published 65 books. And so they're serious about these books having a purpose and an audience and a quality to them. Mm-hmm. Goldie is one of those.
Yeah. I'm curious, what was her pitch to get you on the team?
So that's very interesting. She about 20 years ago started a foundation called MindUP. That's MIND, MindUP. She's very involved in mindfulness and meditation and the psychology of raising children to be happy and productive, but especially to be happy and calm. So this foundation issued materials, teacher guides and things for working on mindfulness with kids. And that's been in the schools with hundreds of thousands of kids for the past 15 to 20 years. And when I heard about it, I thought, this is a really interesting time in our history to be working on kindness and mindfulness with children, because I think what they see in our world are not particularly great examples of that these days. And so it was an easy pitch for her, because I was already on board with the subject matter. The books are fiction and they're funny, they're comedies, but it's called The Kindness Club because it's a crew, kindness crew, because it's about 3 kids, sort of outlier kids, who practice acts of kindness in their school and their community. And as I look around and I see all the rhetoric that's floating around from all sources, not just government, but from media, I think that we could all use a heaping dose of kindness. And it occurs to me that it can be taught. So this was an easy pitch for me because I'm on board with the subject matter.
Yeah. Well, you're right about kids being bombarded. I remember taking a media literacy class when my daughter was in middle school. And at that time, we're talking maybe 15, 20 years ago, at that time, the teacher told me, kids are exposed to 3,000 media messages a day between billboards and music and TV and movies. I think that number has probably quadrupled at least. And I think a lot of the messaging is, like you said, it's negative. It's, the algorithm of feeding our kids stuff that makes them angry on social media. The news is filled with, the motto is, if it bleeds, it leads. And it's almost as if somebody is manipulating that to make us angry and not be kind to each other.
I think that's true. I think the bar has over the years gotten lower and lower, I mean, when you think about it, just as an example, when you hear the president or a member of Congress dropping the F-bomb, using language that is sort of low down and aggressive and unpleasant, you think, what are the messages kids are getting from all around? And to me, kindness is at the bottom of everything. That if you set out each day with the goal to practice kindness, to be empathetic, real kindness, compassionate listening, the things that make you a human being, a compassionate human being, you're going to have a good day. You're going to have a much better day. And you wouldn't think that that's something that has to be taught, because I believe that human beings are intrinsically kind. But I think when there's a lot coming in at you, when you're an 8-year-old kid or you're a 12-year-old kid and you're on social media all day long and as you say, billboards and music, there's a lot of negative messaging coming in. I think it's really important that we realize that kindness is a virtue and that it has to be modeled so kids can see what it looks like. Yeah. So that was a really important thing for me in this book. The books are, I write comedy. So, and I can't get away from that because everything that I write even when I'm trying to be serious, it turns out to be funny. It's so frustrating, I think it was Dorothy Parker, the great writer from the 30s and 40s, who said, "Way down deep, I'm shallow." And sometimes I feel that way about me because I try to write the great serious novel and it comes out funny. But it's great because the humor is a bridge for the kids to cross into the book. And then once you have them and you have them laughing and entertained, you can build in more serious or more weighty kinds of issues. So hopefully that's what I've done the After School Kindness Crew.
Yeah. So who's part of the kindness crew?
So the story centers on 3 kids, Mia, River, and Tony, and they're kind of outlier kids. Mia is a little bit kind of on the spectrum, a little bit, neurodiverse. And River is a theater kid, the type, the theater kid who lives and breathes for musicals.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony is more of the sort of regular guy, but he's not so great in school. He's interested in art. So I developed these characters because I wanted the kids in the kindness crew to be not exactly regular, not your average run-of-the-mill kids. So I picked sort of outlier kids. And in the first book, which is called Pooch on the Loose, here, I have, can you see it? I have a copy right there.
Well, it's a little bit blurred, but
okay, we'll do it. We'll catch it later. In the first book, they meet and make friends when their teacher calls a special day in class called Surprises. And it's a day when the kids are supposed to bring something from home that would surprise the class, something that tells their classmates something unusual about them. And so each of our 3 kids has a disastrous experience, funny and disastrous experience, and they sort of bond over that. And they get to know each other and get to appreciate each other's eccentricities. They're not, these are not the kids who are going to be the cheerleader in high school. They're a bit alternative. And they form a friendship, and they decide that the basis of their friendship should be this secret mission club to perform acts of kindness in the community. And so in the first book, the first thing they do is adopt a rescue dog and give him a forever home. But in the other books that follow, they do other kinds of things. They help a neighbor who's kind of a lonely, kind of the old guy down the street that no one talks to, and they help integrate him into the community. And in the book that I just finished, they perform another act of kindness with a new girl who just came to the school. It's her first day at school, and she's having a hard time. So they're very ordinary situations, school situations, community situations, home situations, where they can have influence. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that happens to kids is they don't feel like they can do anything about stuff. The world seems too big and too complex, and they're little and they don't have power. So these books are very empowering for kids to say that you can perform act of kindness that will make a difference right there in your very own home and in your very own community.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. One of the things that we've talked about here on the podcast is when we're reading with our babies, when they're 3, 4, 5 years old, and we're curled up together on the couch and we're reading a story, and we ask them, what do you think about what's going on? What would you have done? The most important person in that kid's life is asking their opinion. And I think that's incredibly empowering when we ask it, and then when we listen and respond. And I really encourage families to continue to read with their kids as they become independent readers. What a great experience reading Pooch on the Loose together with your kid, or co-reading and talking about it on the way to school, and asking your kid, what can you do to make your school better? What can you do? What's a problem that we drive by every day, and how can you help fix that?
I think I actually have that scene in the first book. They're carpooling to school, and they look out the window and see something where they can intervene. One of my favorite books that I've written in my career is a book of poetry called Little Poems for Tiny Ears. And I wrote it, and it was illustrated by Tommy DePaola, who you mentioned in your introduction, who's a great and good friend of mine. And that book is intended for infants and toddlers to be read to. They're very simple lyrical poems that, because there are all these studies that the earlier you start reading with children, even as babies, that that you're developing fluency and a sound of language, and just the notion of turning the page, and that there are books on the page that come alive in your imagination. It's really important. So I couldn't support you more in co-reading. I think it's crucial, and even at that very youngest age. Pooch on the Loose and the After School Kindness Crew is developed, they call it a chapter book, but it's a little bit closer to a novel to me than a chapter book. It's sort of intended for kids in the second grade, third grade, fourth grade, the true middle grade readers, because they're novels. They're 20 chapters, so they're not, they're not small like the Magic School Bus. They're a real book, with 100 pages. But it can be read together. It can be read to a younger child. There's nothing in there that a younger child wouldn't enjoy. So it could be read to or with a younger child and a parent, even as young as kindergarten and first grade.
Yeah. I have to take this opportunity because Tommy DePaulo's books made such a difference in my life and my kids' life. I made a living, Lynn, as a professional clown.
Oh, my.
And the Clown of God by Tommy was our favorite book. And for the longest time, I thought it was just because it was a great book. But as I got older and doing this podcast, I'm coming to realize that my kids kind of saw themselves, the mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. They kind of say, hey, we're this clowning family, and, I go, and my dad does this thing, and I help him sometimes. And what was Tommy like?
He was the best. He was just the best. And by the way, Jed, what's interesting is Clown of God was his favorite book. Of all of the hundreds of books that he's published, that was the one that he loved the most. And I knew him when he was illustrating that. I've known him. I started the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators when I was 22. And so many of the founding members, Tommy DePaola, Ezra Jack Keats, Judy Blume, you name it, Sid Fleischman, were friends for a lifetime. So Tommy was my friend for 50 years. And that was his all-time favorite book. It was the most spiritual to him and the most meaningful and the most beautiful. What a beautiful book it was, just visually. So as a person, he was ebullient. He was full of life. He sang songs. He would walk around the house belting out Broadway songs. He lived in New Hampshire in a beautiful, beautiful farmhouse. And here's something interesting about him is he believed that if you were an artist, not only should you create art on paper and as illustration, but that your life should be a work of art. So everything in his house was entirely beautiful. There wasn't a corner that wasn't art directed. You would see a vase with flowers in it and know that he had arranged them. And in his closet, he had scarves. He wore a lot of scarves, and he would roll them up and put them in color order. And it was like it would be like a picture from Architectural Digest. So he spent a lot of time. His Christmas tree, when he had Christmas every year, was the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. He made crepe paper flowers and decorated it all like a Mexican Christmas tree. It was just beautiful. So he was great. He was warm and a party guy, lots of fun, and a beautiful artist, and a very spiritual man. When he was younger, he was going to enter a monastery. He tried a few times and it didn't work. he had too much kick in him to be cloistered away. But he was very spiritual, as you can tell from The Clown of God, and left behind. He, passed away not that long ago and left behind a really beautiful body of work for all of us to enjoy. My favorite was Stregonona,
Yep.
because of the pasta, I think. You can win me over on a cheap date. You can win me over with pasta anytime.
Well, we love that book as well. You mentioned founding the SCBWI. I always have a hard time.
It's a terrible name. I apologize.
What was the motivation for launching that?
Well, I was 22 years old. I was a child, and I had just graduated college with a teaching credential. I spent a year writing comedy for television, and hated that. I loved the writing part, but I just didn't like the whole world of sitting around group writing. And so I found a job. I walked into, if you can believe it or not, the employment office, which was then called the unemployment office. And there was a posting on the wall that said children's book writer wanted. I believe that was intended directly for me, because there hasn't been such a posting before or since. I applied for the job. You had to write a story and audition, and got it. And it was working for a government lab that was doing research on teaching kids to read. And they were looking for 2 writers to write the stories that were part of the reading program. So they selected me and a young man named Stephen Mooser. And on the first day, they came in and told us that our assignment over the next several years was we were each going to write 110 stories for the readers and 7 novels each. And they left us to discuss that. And I turned to Steve and I said, I have no idea how to do this. I've been a television writer. So he said, well, we should join an organization or a club or a school that teaches us how to do this. Because we were writing, these were going to be distributed nationally to hundreds of thousands of kids across the country. And there wasn't one. So being young and brash and unaware of how difficult things can be, we started one. We put a little ad in Writer's Digest, and we had our first conference when there were 35 members. My mom made the potato salad for the luncheon. You know, it was really loving hands at home. And within 5 years, we had 5,000 members, and today there are 26,000 members. It's the largest writers' organization in the world. So I did that as a part-time labor of love for my whole career, and it was glorious. I got to meet we got to stand by and observe and be part of the golden age of children's books. I believe these last 50 years have been incredible, and at every conference we had the best and the brightest. Many times before they emerged, we had Kwame Alexander speak before he won the Newbery, and so we were sort of in the act of discovering the great voices in children's literature, and the people who participated across the years, people like Lois Lowry or Richard Peck or Renee Watson, Jason Reynolds, the people who have helped form what is our current body of children's literature. When we started, it wasn't that way. Children's literature was a little bit of a stepchild of publishing, It was sort of relegated to the women in the company, great women like Ursula Nordstrom, who was, the greatest editor of all time. But it wasn't viewed as a real moneymaker in publishing. And then came Twilight and Harry Potter, and publishing learned that this could be the children's literature could be a real resource in their company. And so all of a sudden things changed, and children's literature became prestigious, and I think we really are in the midst of a golden age. Yeah. Books there's so many wonderful books that are published and distributed that become a part of our daily culture. You think of the Lemony Snicket books or the Magic School Bus. I mean, they're right there as part of what kids talk about and deal with every day of their lives. Yeah.
Yes. I was blown away. My beautiful wife and I, 2 years ago, we attended the International Children's Book Festival in Bologna.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful. It's going on right now.
Yes. And I'm looking, and I'm seeing it's 5 convention halls filled with publishers, and it just, I knew the children's book industry was big. I had no idea how big it was.
And how beautiful those international festivals like that, when you see what's being published in other countries, such beautiful work. And I think in America we don't pay enough attention to books in translation, because there's so many, so many rich publishing industries in other cultures, in Korea or in Italy. You know, the Italians, everything, the design is so exquisitely beautiful that I hope people sort of continue to get on board with reading books that are not only published in America, but that come from other countries. It's the best way we can exchange ideas, and kids can learn to understand that we're all different, but we're all alike.
Absolutely. That being a window into another culture, helping kids understand that we're all part of one beautiful family. I'm just curious, what was in creating the after school kindness crew, Pooch on the Loose, what was the writing process? Did you and Goldie get together on a regular basis? Did you Zoom? Did one of you come up with an idea and share it with the other? And I'm always curious about creative's process.
Well, when I write with Henry Winkler, we are actually in a room together. We sit and we argue over every word. He is very much engaged in the minute to minute writing process. Working with Goldie was a little bit different. She's more of a big idea person than a writer of sentences and paragraphs. So we met a great deal before we started this, and she educated me about her MindUP program and what it's striving to teach. It teaches kids about their brain and how when they learn about their brain and all of the functions that it performs, that they can self-regulate, that it teaches them about fight or flight, for instance, so that if they're nervous before a unit test in geography, they can take a brain break and actually do some meditation and calm themselves down. So she's very interested in the principles behind it and in the general storylines. She was active in developing the characters. When it came down to doing the drafts, that falls more into my area of expertise, and then I would show it to her after we had a draft, and we would work on any of the big picture items that she wanted to influence. So it was a different process than writing with Henry. He really wanted the day-to-day experience of writing a book because of his dyslexia. The Hank Zipser is based on him as a child when he was dyslexic. It was really important to him to feel like his hands were on every page. Goldie is a looser kind of person. She's a lot of fun, and she has great ideas about how children can experience joy in their lives and kindness. And so those ideas are on every page.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited that those ideas are coming out. I know myself whenever a young performer comes up to me and says, "Hey, you've been doing this for so long, and how do you're not nervous?" And I get nervous and my belly's, and I just say to them, "Hey, listen, I learned that the sweaty palms, the butterflies in your belly, that's the same thing you experience when you're excited. So when you feel those things, you're not, just tell yourself you're not nervous, you're just excited about it." And something that taught me, and it's really true, so that the After School Kindness Crew has all these other little nuggets of brain wisdom is a beautiful thing. What a great resource.
It actually, even in the book, has, so there's something that they practice in the MindUP program, which is called a brain break, where you take 3 to 5 minutes and actually close your eyes, let your thoughts drift freely, and meditate, focus on your breathing. And in each book, we have 2 brain breaks where we tell the kids, you know what, it's okay to put the book down now and take a brain break, so that they actually get to do what the characters are doing, which is taking a brain break. Because one thing we don't realize when kids read, if you're reading this and you're 8 years old, let's say, or 9 years old, you've only been reading for a few years. And it's kind of a stressful proposition, Once I was at a school and one of the kids said to me he didn't like reading. And I said, "Why is that?" "Because it's so interesting to read." He said, "It makes my head hurt." And I thought, well, it probably does, I mean, he was young and he was sort of a bit of a struggling reader, and it's a lot going on in your head. It's like trying to learn to play Monopoly or something. So by building in these brain breaks where we tell the kids, it's okay, put down the book, find a comfortable spot, sit up straight, close your eyes, take in, do some deep breathing, and then focus on breathing and letting your thoughts drift freely. And then when you're done, you can open your eyes and wiggle around and feel that your stress level has gone down. And then you can continue reading and have it be a more enjoyable experience. So the books actually practice what they preach by giving the readers an opportunity to relax during the reading process.
That's fantastic. I'm really curious. A lot of times I'll ask, what message do you hope a kid takes from reading the book? But because I'm so wanting parents to co-read this book with their kids, what message do you want the parent to take away from reading this book and then maybe put into practice so their kids can see them?
That's a great question. That's really a great question because the books are written on two levels. One is for the kids, where there's a lot of physical humor, and then the other is for the parents, where there's not only the more serious message about what is kindness and what does it look like, but also there's a level of humor that's intended for the parents. So hopefully the parents will enjoy co-reading this book because it will be funny to them as well as to the kids. So the kids get a scene where a pet snake gets loose in the classroom and causes chaos. So there's a lot of physical humor that they're going to love, but there's a lot of sort of observational humor in the narrative that the parents are going to love and be entertained by. So the first thing I hope they would experience together is pleasure in reading the books. The books have started to get reviews, and what the reviews have all been saying is that it's fun, that it's a fun read. And that is, to me, is the greatest compliment, that it's pleasurable, that it's pacey, it's quick, the pages fly by. And so the first message I would hope they would get together is that reading and co-reading is fun, that this is not an obligation that we have to do, that we're going to have a great time with this. And in terms of the actual content of the book, the primary message is that you can be kind all day long, and performing little acts the kindness is like throwing a stone in a pond and watching the ripples spread out. That if you do just the smallest kind thing, if you ignore a bully who's bullying you, or if you take a person who's new to the school and welcome them in, that it makes you feel good, it makes them feel good, and then the ripple spreads out into the general world. So what I would hope that kids would get is, even if you're little, even if you're a small person, what you do has a big effect on the world. And I would hope the parents would reinforce that too.
Amen. Joe, Lynn, is there a place we can go to find out more about the After School Kindness Crew, Pooch and the Loose, and also find out more about all the great books that you've created?
Well, I have a website. It's just linoliver.com. My name is spelled Lin Oliver, and that's because, don't tell anyone, but it's short for Linda. When I was in the 6th grade, I told my parents I wanted to be a writer, and that Linda was not a writer's name. I didn't think it was very writerly, and I thought Lin Oliver had a nice feel to it. I practiced my signature for signing books. I was 11 years old. I was quite sure that I would be signing books. So the website is just my name, and it has lots of great information for parents and for kids. And the books will be, as of May 6th, will be in bookstores all across the country. And I really love independent bookstores. So there's nothing wrong with ordering from Amazon, but if you can, and if it's convenient, and you can be a patron of your local indie bookstore, it would be so great to go there. Of course, it will be in libraries. It's gotten good reviews from School Library Journal, so it will be bought by all the libraries. But a trip to your local independent bookstore to get the book would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, we've had a wonderful time. Before I go, on behalf of my daughter, thank you for the Hang Zipper books. It brought her so much joy, and brought me so much joy because she would just take me through every book. And on the way to dance class, on the way to school, I would just hear the tales, and it made me smile. So thank you for those moments.
I'm glad. Those are very meaningful books to me. And so working both with Henry and now with Goldie is a real pleasure, because these are people who are using their celebrity for a really good cause. And so it gives me pleasure to be able to support both of them in that.
Yeah. And thank you on behalf of all the authors that we have on the show for launching the SCBWI.
I'm going to make you say it one more time. I've gone through life apologizing for having an absolutely unpronounceable name to that organization. But once it took off, we sort of couldn't change it. And I feel sorry for everyone who has to say it. I have now, took me 50 years to learn to say it smoothly. So come back to me in another 10 years and
I'll have it. There you go. We've had a great time speaking to the co-author of the After School Kindness Crew, Pooch on the Loose. Our guest has been Lin Oliver. Lin, thank you so very much for being with us.
Thank you, Jen. It was a real pleasure.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Atmosphere Press. Have you been dreaming about publishing a children's book, one that sparks imagination, creates bedtime memories, and maybe even becomes part of a family's story for years to come? The truth is, great ideas deserve more than a file sitting on your laptop. They deserve to become real books, beautifully designed, professionally published, and ready to reach young readers everywhere. At Atmosphere Press, you get expert guidance through every step of the journey, from editing and illustration to design, distribution, and marketing. So your book doesn't just get published, it gets positioned for success. Whether it's your first picture book, a middle grade adventure, or the story you've been carrying for years, now's the time to bring it to life. Visit atmospherepress.com to send in your manuscript and see what your book could become. That's atmospherepress.com, where your book can go above and beyond even your wildest dreams. Welcome to Story Keepers. In this segment of Story Keepers, we're going to be traveling to the North Shore of Greater Boston. Jen Perry is going to tell us all about Loom Books.
Hi, this is Jen Perry from Loom Books in the beautiful seaside town of Newburyport, Massachusetts. We're an independent bookstore that focuses on highly curated shelves. Instead of carrying thousands of titles, we try to offer a few of the very best books in each genre. So when people walk in, they know almost everything they see has been thoughtfully chosen. Kids really love coming into the store because it feels a little playful and unexpected. We have bright colors and comfortable places to sit and read. We also have a vintage telephone booth that we turned into a listening station where kids can sample audiobooks through Libro.fm. There's almost always an ongoing chess game happening somewhere in the store, and dogs are welcome, which kids especially appreciate. One of my favorite children's books is Enemy Pie. It's such a simple story, but it has a wonderful message about friendship and kindness. The idea that sometimes the best way to deal with someone you think is an enemy is to spend time with them and understand them a little better is a great lesson for kids. When we choose children's books, we look for stories that spark curiosity and imagination, but also respect how smart kids really are. We want books that children return to again and again, and books that parents enjoy reading out loud. One thing parents can do to help kids love reading is to make it feel playful instead of like a task. Reading together, talking about stories, and even using things like phonics games or wordplay can make a big difference. We've been exploring fun tools like a phonics card game called Phonics Falls that helps kids practice sounds, rhyming, and word building through play. When learning feels like a game, kids naturally lean into it. At the end of the day, reading opens up worlds. It gives kids imagination, language, and confidence, and bookstores like Loom exist to make that discovery feel magical.
Hey, this is Jedley. Welcome to a brand new segment here on Reading with Your Kids. We call it Real Magic Sound Lab. Now, before we jump in, I want to tell you a quick story. This actually happened many years ago. I was performing at a fair. And between shows, I was walking throughout the fairgrounds with my beautiful wife. And all of a sudden, 4 college-age women came running up to me, super excited. And they said, "We remember you. We saw you in 3rd grade. We remember your song." And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. They didn't remember the tricks. They remembered the song. And in that moment, I realized something really powerful. Music sticks. Messages stick. And the right song can stay with a child for life. So today, we're creating new music with that same hope in mind. And we want your help. Now, here's how Real Magic Sound Lab works. We're going to play 2 different versions of the same song, same lyrics, same message, but 2 very different styles. One version is sung in a more pop, hip-hop, original artist kind of style. The other one is sung by kids or very young singers. And as you listen, I want you to think about this. Which version would kids actually ask to hear again? Which one would play in your home or in your classroom? Because today, you're not just listening, you're helping us decide the future of real magic music. So today, we're going to ask you about our song called The Best Me I Can Be. As you listen, ask yourself, does this song feel like a song kids would connect with? And could you see them sing along to it?
Yeah. When I wake up in the morning, I can choose my day. Use kind words, help a friend, share along the way. If I make a little mistake, I don't have to hide. I can try it again and feel that pride inside. I don't have to be perfect, I just have to try. Take a breath, stand tall, reach up high. I'm gonna be the best me I can be. Yeah, the best I can be. When I'm kind, when I try, that's the real magic in me. Every choice that I make helps the world to see. I'm becoming the best me I can be. When I feel a little nervous or I want to quit, I can say not yet and not give up on it. If a friend feels sad, I can lend a hand. Just a smile or a hug can help them stand. I can take a deep breath, I can slow it down. Turn a hard day right back around. I'm gonna be the best me I can be. Yeah, the best I can be. When I'm brave, when I care, that's the real magic in me. Every step that I take is helping me to see I'm becoming the best me I can be. It's saying please and thank you. It's waiting for my turn. It's helping out at home. There's so much I can learn. It's trying something new, even when it's hard. It's being a good friend. That's my superpower. I'm gonna be the best me I can be. Yeah, the best I can be. When I choose to be kind, that's the real magic in me. I don't have to be perfect, I just have to believe. I'm becoming the best me I can be.
All right, so that was the A side of The Best Me I Can Be. Could you picture kids moving to that? Your kids? Can you picture your kids singing along? Maybe asking to hear it again in the car. I got to tell you, after 35 years of performing in schools, I've seen kids respond to songs that feel real, songs that have energy, rhythm, something they can grab onto. But let's not decide just yet. Because right now it's time to hear the B side of the best me I can be.
The best me I can be. The best me I can be. Oh, yeah. When I wake up in the morning, I can choose my day. These kind words help a friend share along the way. If I make a little mistake, I don't have to hide. I can try again and feel that pride inside. I don't have to be perfect, I just have to try. Take a breath, stand tall, reach up high. I'm gonna be the best me I can be. Yeah, the best I can be. When I'm kind, when I try, there's the real magic in me. Every choice that I make helps the world to see. I'm becoming the best me I can be. When I feel a little nervous, so I want to quit, I can say not yet and I give up on it. If a friend feels sad, I can lend a hand. Just a smile or a hug can help them stand. I can take a deep breath, I can slow it down. Turn a hard day right back around. I'm gonna be the best me I can be. Yeah, the best I can be. When I'm brave, when I care, that's the real magic in me. Every step that I take is helping me to see I'm becoming the best me I can be. It's saying please and thank you. It's waiting for my turn. It's helping out at home. There's so much I can learn. It's trying something new. Even when it's hard, it's being a good friend. That's my superpower. I'm gonna be the best me I can be. Yeah, the best I can be. When I choose to be kind, that's the real magic in me. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to believe I'm becoming the best me I can be.
All right, so now you've heard the A side and the B side. I've got to be honest with you. I think this is really interesting because I can see the value in both sides. The original version feels something kids might want to hear on the radio. That's got a lot of energy and it feels really cool. But the version that's maybe for younger kids, well, there's something about hearing kids' voices that can make it feel more like theirs. Now, I'll tell you, my beautiful wife listened to both, and she kind of prefers the original, side A. And I get that, because when I perform for kids, even very young kids, they're dancing to the same pop songs they hear everywhere else, and they want music that feels real and not watered down. But here's the thing. This isn't about what I think. It's about what works best for you and the kids in your life. So here's what I'd love for you to do. Head on over to readingwithyourkids.com. On that landing page, you're going to find a link that says vote and our song live songs. You'll find both versions of the song side by side, and you can cast your vote. And as a thank you, we're going to send you a real magic song download, both versions of The Best Me I Can Be, and a fun activity guide that you can do with your kids. Because you're not just voting on a song, you're helping us create music that inspires kids to be kind, to make healthy choices, and to become the best versions of themselves. And who knows, maybe someday, years from now, a group of college students will run up to you or me and say, "Hey, I remember that song." And if that happens, that's real magic. Hey, thanks for being part of our very first Real Magic Sound Lab. And remember, reading with your kids is the best way to help your kids grow closer to you. Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids. You'll join us for the next exciting episode of the show. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love, especially a music lover. Leave a 5-star review and, of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. And, we'd also love for you to go to readingwithyourkids.com, click on that Sound Lab link, and let us know which version of the Best Me I Can Be you love. Maybe you love both of them and your kids will love to hear both of them. Who knows? You can download the songs for free over at readingwithyourkids.com. Want to thank the folks today who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, the one and only Lin Oliver. Please be sure to check out the After School Kindness Crew, Pooch on the Loose. Also, remember that just like people in your chapter of the SCBWI that that Lin's on the show, I'm sure they would love to hear a little bit about how Lin's mom made the potato salad for those early SCBWI meetings. I want to thank Jen Perry at Loom Books. I want to thank my team. Right now, my team is Chris Doherty. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, you are part of our team and the most important part of our team. Because without you, we'd just be talking to ourselves. And that's not necessarily a good... Well, talking to yourself is okay. But when you hear something that... I don't know. Anyway, we just appreciate that you're being here today. And we also thank you for helping to make the world a better, more kinder, more empathetic place. And, of course, you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.